All right, welcome. I just welcomed you. I lit the candle. So if you're here for the Q&A, you can go ahead and jump straight to it. If you're on YouTube, you're on YouTube. You just go to the chapter feature, and you can jump right to question number 1, and you can find your question there. Thank you for submitting the questions, and decided to look at them. Great item on the shelf. Here we go. So we have a chilled Avery glass with the flagship logo on it. And what are we going to pour in this chilled Avery glass? Go figure. We've got the Avery. Yeah. And that's that beautiful art on the back right there. And this is a crisp, radiant, resinous Colorado IPA. Great IPA. My favorite brew that I've discovered since being in Colorado. There's been some controversy online, I've noticed, about how to properly pour a beer. Now there's some discrepancies here. If you're at a brewery and you order a beer, they're going to put the glass under the tap and they're going to let it come down at a 45-degree angle. They're going to minimize the foam because when they when they hand you over the beer, people want to see a full glass of beer. If they order a 12-ounce beer, they want to see 12 ounces of beer. So they'll minimize the foam, but there's been some talk, some conspiracies about the best way to actually pour the beer is to dump it right in straight up and let it foam. And now it looks a little wacky, all the foam, because normally we have the stigma about foam in the beer, but you're supposed to pour it right in the glass. So I'm already talking too much. Let's just pour it right in, and I'll explain a little bit more later. Okay. Need more hands. Let's crack it open. Hopefully I didn't shake it around too much. All right. The Avery has been opened, and I am right-handed, so I will reach with my left. Okay. Here we go. Beer directly into the glass. Here we go. And that is a fat head on this beer. Now why? Why would I do such a thing, right? So allegedly, pouring it in this way, this is releasing some aroma in the beer, and you're getting out a lot of this fizziness in the glass. So if you do want to do a nice clean sideways pour, that's fine. It looks cool, yeah. But this, you guys have seen the video. I'll put the link to the video, maybe, whatever. This would be in your stomach if you poured it sideways and then just drank it. It'd be this bloatiness feeling. So doing it this way, you have to be a little bit more patient because I have to let this sit now for a whole 2 minutes. The impatience that we have nowadays is crazy. But I'll let that sit, and this is releasing the aromas and the gases. And when I consume this beer on this podcast, I'm going to feel pretty light and good. I'm not going to feel, heavy. I'm not going to feel all bloated up. Okay. We waited a few minutes there, and as you can see, the foam has reduced itself. So we're going to finish out this pour. And I don't really know why people get so worked up about foam. I mean, I get that it is an inconvenience. I understand that it's an inconvenience because I can't really drink this beer yet. But it's like most things. The more the harder you look, the more you realize what the truth is. And the truth is this beer is going to taste amazing. And it is going to be light on my tummy. So anyways, we're still waiting, actually. I find you got to take about 5 minutes. So But yeah, I'm excited to get into this podcast. We're kind of in limbo here, I know. But like I said, I gave that disc the pre-frame. You know, if you want to jump to the Q&A, you had already been jumped. You had jumped already, hopefully. Because this is really taking some time. All right. There is another kind of disgusting trick people have done, which is they'll take their finger and wipe it across their face grease. And they'll get a greasy finger and they'll swirl it around in the foam, and that takes the foam down. But that to me is just so unnecessary and kind of gross to me. You know, it's actually probably the last thing I would want to be swirling around in my beer is the grease from my pores. But that's another trick people do. So anyways, we're coming around the final corner. We're going to take a sip of this brew, and then we're going to get into some Q. Oh, yeah. ZQ. Okay, first question. Here we go. If you're into conspiracy theories, what is your top one to dive into? Oh, let's get conspiratorial. My favorite conspiracy, the one that I spent like a whole week researching one time in college, it was the Bohemian Grove. Now, if you haven't heard about the Bohemian Grove, it's a very secret meeting with elite people in the middle of the woods. They go on this like retreat, and they have they get together, a cabal of like people will get together and conspire, and you know, they're all very powerful and they probably do business deals and weird stuff out there. But they burn like a giant figurine of an owl, I believe. But it's all like, you know, it's all true. You can research it. But the Bohemian Grove really had me in a chokehold there for a while, because I just couldn't believe that this was happening behind our backs. But Bohemian Grove's a good one. I guess a newer conspiracy is this. I guess I can talk about it now. It's the Trump assassination attempt. You know, something's a little fishy about that. You know, that guy, how, like, he shouldn't be able to get off that shot. You know, the fact he was firing bullets at one of the most powerful men in the world, and he's some, like, snot-nosed teenager who just wandered onto a sloped roof. It's like, we saw him. There's footage of people saying, hey, get this guy, like this guy, so on, you know. It's just like, that guy got, you know, he should not have been able to get through and get that shot off. So that is a big red flag to me, and that is a conspiracy. Good question. Next cue. Do you love Asia or Remy more? It's kind of a generic way to ask it. I love them both. Let's adjust this. Let's say if Asia was hanging off a cliff and Remy was hanging off a cliff, and you could only save one, I'm definitely saving Asia. And that's just heartbreaking to think about that. I don't like that question. I love them both a lot with all my heart. Remy's got this side of my heart. Asia's got the other side of my heart. And we're all in love together. Okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, ask me anything. Someone said, rights, privileges men have that women don't. Let me take a second to think about this. Rights, privileges men have that women don't. There's a few. I'll take this question serious. Career-wise, men are allowed to just zero in on their career and make their professional life all that they care about. Men are able to do that, and it's less stigmatized than if a woman were to do that. I guess at the outset, I would just say that I believe that men and women are equal. I believe our Constitution, our civil laws are set up to give both genders a level platform. Does that mean it's a perfect platform? No. But that said, there are some differences. I can walk around outside at night and I don't, feel scared for my life. I'm not worried someone's going to jump out the bush and grab me and, harass me in any kind of inappropriate way. I'm not worried about that. So I guess I have the luxury of being able to walk around at night. I guess, women are more susceptible to, those types of things. Catcalling, they are targeted more. I'm thinking about the movie Taken. So, it does happen. But anything else there? Yeah. Men are just, there's no biological clock for men. So I guess this is a privilege that we're not like, by 30, we don't have to be starting to have kids or be wrapping up having kids because we don't have that biological constraint on our reproductive aspect of our bodies. So I guess that's a privilege, and we don't have to take on the physical wear and tear of childbearing. That is, we really got the good end of the stick on that one, I would say. So, good question. Thank you for that, Q. Next question. Do you regret anything? I regret switching my major in college from architecture to accounting. Looking back in hindsight, I think I know now that accounting is definitely not for me. It wasn't for me. It may never be for me. But that is a regret that, that I go back and I go, man, I wonder, not necessarily a regret, but I do go, I wonder what my life would be like if I had pursued the architecture thing. Where would I be now? What kind of work would I do? It would change a lot. And I think I would be more creatively suited for architecture. I feel like it's a good balance. Architecture is design, it's mathematics, it's, science, but also creativity. It's artistry, but it's artistry with constraints of, fire code or whatever. So I think I wouldn't even rule it out. I might become an architect later on in my life. When I hit 40, I might, go back and be like, hey, I'm going back to become this architect, and I might be a great architect when I'm in my 50s. There's less time restriction on the whole architecture thing. But yeah, obviously accounting didn't work out. So I guess that would be my one regret. But for the most part, I have none. Tat across my chest. No regrets. Oh, this beer is good. Rolling on a river. Thank you for these questions. Let's get into another one. Ask me anything. Would you rather tell your friends you are gay or eat ass for a year? Who's ass? That's an important factor. Would you rather just tell your friend? I just have to tell them. Okay. I would just tell them I'm gay. Eating ass doesn't sound good. So I would rather just say it. Just because you say it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. I'd rather just say it and get that out the way. Eat ass for a year? All right. That's a silly question. Next question. What's the hardest part about podcasting? Ooh, I like this one. What is the hardest part about podcasting? It's definitely not this part. This is the fun part, I guess sometimes it's hard to find enough candles to light up the room, but no, for the most part, podcasting feels pretty natural and easy and fun to me. I don't necessarily have to think too hard about it to do it. It's a many years of creativity that have led up to this podcast and me, in 2 years of professional sales work to where I feel like I've gotten my vocals, my words, and my thoughts in line enough to communicate coherently for extended periods of time while on camera and recording into a microphone. It's taken, a lot of preparation, so it comes somewhat easy now. If I was doing this 5 years ago, it wouldn't be as easy. I'd struggle dramatically, most likely, with it. But now it's easy. The hardest part for me, let me think. It's not the creating, it's kind of the, I guess, reception aspect of the podcast. It's the fact that I can work on it, create it, do it, create it, edit it, post-process it, and then release it. I can feel great about it. A lot of times, most of the time, I feel really good about what I'm putting out. I feel good about the quality, and I measure it against the last thing I put out, not what's already out there, not the established top creators in the field. I look at, is this better or slightly an improvement, or is it on par with what I created last? So I'm always like, is this a progression? So I look at that. But the hardest part is to feel really good about something and I guess proud of it, and then to put it out and it doesn't feel like it's well received. There's no thumbs up, there's no likes, there's no comments. There are comments, there are people that comment, but the view, I post a video first day, dang, we got 4 views, dude. That hurts. But it's not about numbers. And the other thing about this podcasting thing, I don't even know how this idea came to me, but the idea of a silent watcher. I guarantee that there's somebody out there that's been following the podcast that I haven't probably talked to in a long time. Maybe we were never that close, but I guarantee there's somebody out there that's watching them. They don't comment, they don't like, they don't give me affirmation. Hey, dude, this was good. I like this. They're just watching it. And they're silent. And I know there's probably maybe 1 or 2 out there. And I thought about this, when I started podcasting, I thought everyone was going to be rooting for me. I thought everyone was going to be like, AZ podcast. I thought I was going to have a group of my friends going, yes, championing me. Yes, man, follow your dreams, pursue your passions, be creative, be vulnerable, do all the stuff. I thought that everyone was going to be like, yeah, in my corner. No one's in your corner, buddy. And guess what? There's a few folks out there that probably are jealous, that are probably watching what you're doing. They're keeping up with it, and they're, ooh, he's doing good. His podcasts are getting better. Ooh, I should have done it. There's probably someone out there that has that thinking. So I don't get too hard on myself about lack of reception, because there's just so many factors that play into this whole, whatever thing I'm doing. So it's a lot of factors that go in, and I don't take it personal, and I just try and be better and just persistent. This question, what if Batman got bit by a vampire? Well, Batman is a fictional character, but if Batman did get bit by a vampire, that would be foreplay. Next question. What are you reading these days? I am reading The User Illusion, and I just got We Who Wrestle with God. So I got these 2 books, and man, I'll tell you what, they are above my intellectual pay grade. I mean, they're both very complex books. The User Illusion is about consciousness. And maybe some of you have read a book like this, but sometimes there's a theme of the book, and the author has to go down a rabbit hole and explain some seemingly unrelated topic to make sense of what they're getting to. So that's kind of what is happening with the User Illusion. I mean, it's about consciousness, and the whole first chapter is called computation, and it's all about, like physics and thermodynamics and like entropy and energy and heat, and it's like it's seemingly unrelated, but he's making a point. He's building off a thought pattern that he will most likely get to, but it's very much like a scientific, very dense, hard to track along read. And then yesterday, I got, well, bang, JP's new book, We Who Wrestle with the Lord, with God. And so I got this yesterday, brand new book, and thick. I mean, just daggone thick book. Shoot. Sorry about that. Man, I've just barely not even scratched the surface. I've actually just been looking at the surface, kind of, I'm not even scratching yet. I'm just literally like, I'm just next cue in the queue. What podcast are you listening to currently? Currently, I've been getting pretty deep in on Chris Williamson's podcast. I think that's how you say his last name. He's got a good one. His production value is so high. I mean, they look amazing. I listened to the one with him and Eric Weinstein. Phenomenal. I mean, so intriguing. Oh, Rick Rubin's podcast. It's kind of a subtle goodie. His podcast isn't that big, but Rick Rubin does, let me see if I can get this right, Tetragrammaton podcast. So I like Rubens and Chris Williamson. I like their podcast. This anonymous human asked me, biggest takeaway from what you've read from JP's new book. Has it influenced your relationship with God? Or if you have a relationship with God, maybe how it came about to you, whether it was traditional or you sought it out on your own. Wow, big loaded question here. I have no takeaways from the book because I got it yesterday. I do like that he is including scripture in the book and he's dissecting the scripture. That's cool. I love that. Has it influenced your relationship with God? Not yet. I hope it will in a positive manner. And if you have a relationship with God, how it came about. So this is asking, how did my relationship with God come about? Oh my gosh, how much time do we have? I didn't grow up in church. I had never stepped foot in a church until I was an adult. Maybe I stepped foot in one, maybe a wedding or something, but I had never attended church willingly and seriously until I was in my early 20s. I sought it out with God's people, with the church. I sought it out with real humans that were living faithfully. Sorry, I stumbled over my words, but they had dedicated their life to Jesus, and I was learning about God from very respectable and knowledgeable and genuine people. And I'm very grateful that I met these people. But I do feel like God was working in my life long before I knew him. I was in a place in my life when I was about 22, 23, where I wasn't doing very good. It was kind of your stereotypical, I was in a bad place and I found Jesus type thing. But I actually was in a very serious negative psychological state where I didn't trust myself. I had come to the end of my road of doing things my way. I reached the dead end of that and say, well, I've been living my life my way. I followed my advice from my parents a little bit, but at the same time, I'm kind of carving out my own way here. And it had led me down a road that was empty and meaningless and full of debauchery and full of hurt and anxiety and full of all these negative emotions. And I was in that state when it was the first time I was consciously curious about what the Bible said. I didn't want to go to church. I actually wanted to pick up the Bible and see what's in it. I wanted to pick it up, say, what's in here? Is there anything in here relevant to me? Is there anything in here that I need to know? So I was opened up, in a sense. My heart was open to receiving God. I was searching for meaning in my life. And, God orchestrated it. He put people in my life at certain times, certain places. He made it it happened quick. I was going through the state, and before I knew it, I was in the perfect place to meet Jesus, encounter him, and come face to face with the Word. And it changed my life to this day. Will change my life forever. It has impacted me in a way that it's a whole new orientation. Whole new orientation to this little thing we call life. And it's a very powerful, potent experience. The church I was a part of, it was some of the best years of my life. Some of the greatest memories of my life with people who were present, who were faithful, who were focused on the light, completely sober-minded. Those were some of the best days and moments and memories that I cherish to this day. That's really all I can speak on in terms of that. Great question. Ask me anything. We got a couple more here. Thanks for sticking around. Thanks for catching the keys and tuning in to this Q&A. How has Jordan Peterson's teachings been applied to your life specifically? Great question. My gosh. I'm so glad someone asked me something that I actually care about. That's thought-provoking. That requires me to actually sit here and think. How has Jordan Peterson's teachings been applied to my own life specifically? Well, 12 Rules for Life, the first edition. Man, I remember coming in contact with those concepts and it truly planting seeds in my mind it informed me on how to act. It informed me on how to think. It illuminated the blind spots that I had psychologically. It illuminated aim in my life. One of the rules is be precise in your speech. Be precise in your speech. This was back in 2018, 2019 when I came in contact with this idea of being precise in your speech. At the time when I consumed that knowledge, I was not a very precise communicator. I wasn't a very sharp communicator. I had some good ideas. I was thinking a lot, but I hadn't actually applied it into my ability to communicate. And the Jordan Peterson stuff is very closely tied to me coming to faith and following God. Obviously he's writing a book called We Who Wrestle with God now. It's like pretty obvious, but it informed me on the value and the pertinence of quality speech. It's so important that we communicate clearly and that we are direct about how we feel. If you're going through something, if you are struggling in a certain area, if you have not harnessed the power of your spoken word, of your communication, you're going to struggle. Because the world is in some sense, it's a mirror. And in some sense, the things that you put into the world with your speech, it allows you to manifest and hone in on the focal points of your mental space. So if you're dealing with something, very important that you note it, that you address it, that you specifically write out exactly what it is. And through that process of communicating or through that process of writing, you are actually thinking and understanding more. So Jordan Peterson's, he's a very precise speaker. He doesn't he doesn't confuse his ideas. He thinks in a coherent stream, and he speaks with value. What he says matters to people. That is how he became who he is today. Is he speaks precisely with value. And so this has been, that idea is probably 5 or 6 years old, but it was a seed that was planted that is growing in my life, that I'm oriented towards now. This concept of be precise in your speech. The spoken word is important. The word with a capital W is important. God's word is important. And let's factor in all those things, Getting out of breath for some reason. Ask me anything. Someone said, what's a time or place or memory you wish you could go back to and stay in forever? Oh, a reminiscing question, huh? I look back very fondly on my college days. Being in college was so fun. I mean, when you're in college, what's the goal? You're there to learn. You're there to absorb life, absorb culture, and learn about the world. And you're allowed to fail in college. You're allowed to mess up. You're allowed to do things that, you wake up the next day. Why did we do that last night? What were we thinking? College was such a nice little buffer into this adulthood thing. College was a fantastic time in my life. I remember graduating and being like, I don't want to graduate. I don't want this to end. I love learning. I want to be a student. You lose the formal title of student when you graduate, your last educational commitment, but you're allowed to still learn even after college. But yeah. And I'm sure once I move away from Colorado, if I do, I'm sure it will happen one day. I know I will look back right now, and reminisce and miss this time. I'm kind of in the time that I want to be in, if that makes sense. I'm actually kind of right where I want to be, ironically. All right, I believe there's one more. Here we go. The final question. Are you fulfilled in life? Wow. Yes. Yes, I am fulfilled in my life, and here's why. I'm fulfilled because I have meaning. This podcast is meaningful. The relationship I'm in is meaningful. It's a lifelong, meaningful endeavor to be with Asia, to experience this new place we live in Colorado, to come from Kentucky, to be here. There's meaning in it. I'm learning. I'm fulfilled in my work. I have the perfect work-life balance. I have the resources I need to express myself, to be creative. I'm healthy. Praise God, I'm healthy. I have my limbs, I have my heart, I have my lungs, I have my mind. It's all there, it's intact. It's all working right, as far as I can tell. I love my cat. It might seem silly to say you love your cat, but there is something about it, something meaningful about and fulfilling about there being a small creature that needs you, that relies on you, that cannot make it in this world without you. And to build a little relationship with Remy, we talk about things, we play. He has his own way of doing things that sometimes annoys me. But it's a very fulfilling thing to have a pet. I'm embarking on new creative journeys with the podcast, and I'm growing in my passions, with music. This actually leads into the looking forward part of the show notes, but where I'm at with music, I'm in such this, like, my ear has been doing, squats or something. My ear is just so tapped in on these frequencies, on these dials, on these compressors, on these phase, this distortion. It's all getting dialed in with the music stuff. Actually, literally yesterday, I made my best song yesterday. Got on Logic, opened up a new project, brand new project, no template, just open it up and started creating. Started finding loops and elements that I like, created the beat. I had the tune, I had the melody already in my mind of what is the melody? Where are we going to hit the highs? Where are we going down? And start to finish. I started the beat yesterday. I recorded it yesterday. I mixed it and I mastered it yesterday. Went to bed last night with my AirPods in, listening to it. I was like, man, pat myself on the back. This is your best work, Alec. This is your best work. When this drops, we're going to tell everyone about it because this is your best work, my friend. Send it to mom. And that's more fulfillment. That's more meaning. And so looking forward, man, I'm looking forward to dropping that song. I'll tell you that. Probably make a video for it. New creativity. This video stuff. Yeah, we do the podcast. Yeah, we do this. But also the videography part. Man, I love making videos. It's so fun to have an idea and then create it. So looking forward to all that. Thanksgiving next week. Can't wait for the family time, for the turkey and everything. I can't wait. There's some really great things on the horizon for us. But that pretty much wraps up this pod. Thank you guys for listening. It does mean a lot if you actually go right now, go to the part where you can either like or subscribe. If you just do that for 2 seconds, that'll help me out a lot. So love you guys. Thank you for the questions. And I'll catch you on the next pod.
Let's go get some makeup. We can do it, just trust me. If we getting this right,